604 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Starting your morning off at 61 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. That's the way to roll. That's the way to roll out of bed for sure. Oh, man, we got a big show lined up for you today. We got a lot more election recap on tap for us. We've got a lot of breakdown of the special session on tax reform. How's this special session going to affect small business? That's one of the questions being asked throughout the day today, and a whole lot more. We'll get you the rundown in a little bit, but we start off with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
One person was injured in a Tuesday morning shooting along Florida Boulevard. The shooting happened at a gas station on Florida and North Ardenwood Drive. That one person who was shot was taken to the hospital. You know what? I drove past this on my way into work this morning. Come to think of it, as I was coming up Florida Boulevard this morning, that is a Kangaroo station on the corner of Florida and Ardenwood. They had about 6 cop cars still on the scene. So that's now that's piecing together as to what that was on my way in. We're still looking for more information on condition of the victim and what led to the shooting.
Number 4.
Louisiana Chemical Association and its sister organization, the Louisiana Chemical Industry Alliance, have initiated a search to identify their next leader. This announcement was made yesterday. The current president and CEO, Greg Bowser, good friend of ours right here, Greg Bowser, is stepping down. He is committed to supporting the organization through 2025 as needed to facilitate a seamless transition of leadership. According to the announcement, Bowser assumed the role of president and CEO of the Louisiana Chemical Association back in 2016.
Number 3.
No state nor LSU funds were used for any aspect of the Tiger that made an appearance at the LSU-Alabama game over the weekend. Governor Jeff Landry's office said that yesterday. The office declined to answer where the money came from to pay the organization that owns the Bengal Tiger. Of course, this would be Omar. It's one of many questions that remain unanswered in the wake of the arrival of the Tiger from Florida, marking the first time since 2015 that a live Tiger has visited the sidelines of Tiger Stadium. The result, of course, 42-13 Alabama.
Number 2.
You like how I just blame that totally on the Tiger who was there for 5 minutes before kickoff? LSU's going to be fined $250,000 related to the Tiger fans throwing trash onto the field during the Alabama game. The SEC made this announcement yesterday. Now, according to the Southeastern Conference, in addition to the fine, the university will also be required to use security video and broadcast footage to find the fans who threw the trash and ban them from attending any LSU athletics events for the rest of the athletic and academic year. Let's go. The SEC told LSU to review and update stadium alcohol policies, though they stopped short of suspending alcohol sale privileges for LSU.
Number 1.
New documents obtained by our news partners at WBRZ show that 3 correctional deputies in East Baton Rouge Parish who were arrested for assaulting an inmate filmed the encounter inside the parish prison. According to a search warrant, former EBR Parish Sheriff's deputies Elijah Christopher, Julius Connor, and Noah Jenkins filmed their alleged assault of a parish prison detainee. The video shows the 3 spraying a handcuffed detainee with pepper spray while in and out of his cell. The men are laughing. Christopher's jumping up and down with excitement as it happens. This is all being described by our news partners at WBRZ as well. Christopher also hits the inmate in the face twice. The inmate did not resist nor attempt to fight back. All right, what's trending, John?
Wow, how about Marco Rubio as Secretary of State?
I like it.
Reuters says that it is that's who President-elect is going to tap for the post.
So we're starting to see the pieces come together. The president's starting to name some folks to some different cabinet positions and whatnot. This one in particular, I like a lot. I do.
Yeah.
I've been a Rubio. So full disclosure, back in 2016, when before Donald Trump was on the ballot during that primary, remember when that was a 3-man race between Trump, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio? Man, I was such a Rubio guy.
Pulling for him.
Yep,
Yeah,
still a
sure.
Rubio guy to this day. Whatever, however he can best serve America, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Ooh, this is unfortunate right here. Toy giant Mattel says that it deeply regrets an error on the packaging of its Wicked movie-themed dolls, which mistakenly links toy buyers to a pornographic website.
Okay, yeah. I mean, apologize all you want, but that's That's egregious.
That's
And let's be clear, that's not a link on a package. It's just a written out web address, right?
right on the back of the box.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's not
Ugh.
not something that was done very, very quickly and you move on from. But my goodness,
And the saddest part, I mean, these are most likely kids that are looking up the website before the parents are.
probably,
So
probably. I don't
Wow.
know. Well, here's the thing. As a kid, did you ever read the side of a package, or did you just tear it open and use the toy?
So that was my question to you this morning. Was
Yeah.
that who actually reads the box as a kid? Are you reading
I'm
the
not
box?
reading the box.
Now, hopefully,
as a kid, I'm not reading the box.
the case is depending on the age. Hopefully, they didn't get to the website before their parents. But why would the parents be looking at the website? Well, I guess
So
if they
the
were
error
looking for
gained
dolls.
attention on social media over the weekend, where numerous users shared photos of the URL printed on the back of the boxes for the special edition dolls, which feature characters from the movie adaptation of Wicked, which is set to hit theaters later this month. Instead of linking to Universal Pictures' official wickedmovie.com page, the website listed leads to an adult film site that requires consumers to be over 18 to enter. They did not say what the site was. So,
Oof.
yeah.
Visit website to learn more. You've learned too much.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oof. Hey, Applebee's and IHOP are joining forces for one location that will house both restaurants. I guess, okay. It's a little different than a KFC and a Taco Bell merger, right? This is going to be
Right. You're going and you're sitting down.
Yeah.
Like, I can drive through at a KFC Taco Bell.
Applebee's
This
and
is-
IHOP.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the layout in my head, just trying to. Okay. All right.
I'm not seeing it. The visual's just not there.
And is this going to be across the board? Are they joining
So
up?
they're
or is
starting
only
it
gonna
off with
be-
I read up on this a good bit. They're starting it off in one location, and if you could pick anywhere in the world to do this, where would you pick? Just randomly.
randomly. I don't know. Let's try Baton Rouge first.
No,
How about
not Baton
that?
Rouge, but a group from Baton Rouge makes a visit to this city a couple times this summer.
Okay.
They're starting off in Seguin, Texas, which is on the schedule for the Rougarou every year.
Oh man.
They go to Seguin to play every year. So
Why didn't I
we got to get our guy Ronnie Rance on to talk about this, because he's going to make a visit over there at some point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Worth a visit, huh? Worth a visit.
Is it though? So bad.
Could have been a Waffle House and IHOP, right? Wouldn't that make?
Well, those are both breakfasts,
I know,
though.
but
I could not
IHOP
tell you.
serves
I
lunch.
haven't been to an Applebee's probably 20 years.
It's been a while. It's been a while
Probably
for
20
myself.
years. Like, I'm not a big chain restaurant guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess technically, like
Chili's,
a Ruth
I've been to
Chris
Chili's
is a
recently.
chain. That would count.
Yeah.
But, like, Applebee's.
it's a different vibe.
I'm not a Chili's guy
Yeah.
very often.
Yeah.
If we had a TGI Fridays, I'm a maybe. If we had a Bennigan's, I'm a definite, because that deep fried ham sandwich, the Monte Cristo.
Really?
Oh, man.
Say no more, huh?
Yeah, bro. Applebee's. IHOP. Just
Oh man.
when you combine the two, what do you call it at that point? Just domestic assault? It's 6:12 and Talk 107.3 FM. Let's take a quick break. Come back. Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday. We'll have some more next.
Domestic.
It's a good line. It's a good line. I stand by it.
Oh man. It's like Waffle House employees, throwing chairs and throwing stuff. It's like, oh my gosh. And so this audio.
These nuts.
I clipped it. I almost sent it to you.
You should have.
Just that?
Just these nuts?
Yep.
He has no idea what he said either.
Oh, so for this segment, you have audio for this? BK pressure?
It should be in today's folder.
Oh, today's okay.
Yeah. 1 recaps Alabama. 4 talks about 2 quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then 7 is
What can be fixed in the last 3 weeks?
yeah. All right. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo. Just got paid Friday night. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is sports time. Boy, how about old Will Wade, huh? Man, I don't know if you're into college basketball mode yet, with college football still rolling and the NFL still rolling. Of course, there was Monday Night Football on last night, but my goodness, the McNeese State Cowboys taking on number 2 in the country last night, Alabama, and gave them every ounce that they could want. In fact, McNeese trailed by 11 at halftime. The line on this game was 16, by the way. Trailed by 11 at halftime, and then actually won the second half. It was 41-30 at halftime, Alabama, the number 2 team in the country. Final score, Alabama 72, McNeese 64. So McNeese outscored them in the second half 34-31. I mean, not enough to overtake the number 2 team in the country, but man, the General's still at it over there in Lake Charles at McNeese. It's gotta love it. Gotta love the work. Gotta love the effort. Meanwhile, time to regroup for the LSU football Tigers, put things back together after that abysmal performance against Alabama. Coach Brian Kelly met with the media as he does every Monday of a game week. Let's start off by recapping the doo-doo that was.
Alabama is a fine football team. They played well. They were consistent. They did a really good job of self-scouting and making a decision as to who they were going to be in this game. They came out with a purpose and wanting to control the line of scrimmage, which they did, ran the football effectively, and were consistent in what they did. We were inconsistent, and that really is the difference. We had an opportunity to score a touchdown on the first drive. We weren't able to secure a catch. We turned the football over. We had chances to get off the field on third down. At times we weren't in the right alignments. So our guys were up for the fight. They played hard, but that's not good enough if you're not consistent.
So much to unpack from that. The follow-up question has got to be why, right? It's got to be why. Let's close the book on Alabama week. Move on. When you're looking ahead to Florida, it looks like their quarterback, DJ Lagway, might be back, but it's only a might be, so you're actually prepping for 2 different quarterbacks this weekend?
Yeah, you have to prepare for both, right? I mean, it's certainly a quarterback that has a talent that we've seen on film in terms of what he does. We haven't had a lot of games, but we know of him. He can throw the football. He throws a great ball. He's athletic, and certainly we'll prepare for both quarterbacks.
LSU will take on Florida. I believe it's a 2:30 kickoff this Saturday afternoon on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1's game day will begin at 9:30. Hand off to the network at 12:30, and then kickoff. Kickoff is actually 2:45. if I'm not mistaken. Looking ahead to the following week, I believe the Vanderbilt game is going to be another night game in Tiger Stadium. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Right now it's 6:20. Here comes the Fox Business Report. Go get him, Neil. Hopping on, or I should say following up to what Ray had to say in the last traffic report there. If you're headed westbound this morning from Baton Rouge to Lafayette or points beyond, you're going to want to hop on 190 before anything else, because the interstate is basically closed at Butte La Rose. It's just past Henderson. It's not moving at all, and delays continue to build. So before you even get out of Baton Rouge, go ahead and get on 190. Go around it. Don't try to go through it. This is going to take some time to get cleaned up. Ray had the source of the problem. He'll have it again for you in 10 minutes right now, though. We just know it's shut down, so avoid it. Back here in town, I-12 westbound, you got some heavier than normal volume on 12 west by the Denham Springs exit. It clears right back up until you get to about Sherwood, at which point you're going to slow down a little bit again. But that picks right back up again as well. So Other than that, 10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks good. 10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge Parish looks good. I-110 looks good as well. We can tell you on the surface streets there are, oh, no, these are both on the interstate. Two problems up on the interstate, 2 hit and runs. Both of them have been pushed off the roadway. 110 northbound at Convention Street, that should be moved off onto the shoulder. And I-10 westbound at Perkins, looks like there's a brand new hit and run from about 4 minutes ago, also moved over to the shoulder. That should look at traffic from the Shawbells Tire Traffic Center. Did I email you these 3 cuts? Tax cuts. Did I email them to you? You got tax cuts 1, 2, 3? Okay. No, they were emailed. Bear with me. I don't think I sent them to you. They're not the first 3 on LRN. Give me a minute. Come back to me. 626 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. There's a special session on tax reform going on right now. What will its effects be on business overall? We're going to talk about this here in just a second. Give me 1 second, though, to make sure that John's got the proper cuts. This is on me, John. I'm looking at my email right now. I did not send it to you. That's totally my fault. So give me like 1 quick second. Actually, give me a second to tell you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing, if I could do that. ParishBuilt.com is the website, parishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Hurricane season just about over. Technically not over yet. We'll have more on that later on the show. Technically not over yet, but just about towards the end of it. So now we're moving into that spot with the winter storms. And they can cause just as much damage to your roof. Straight winds or possible tornadic activity. We've seen it in the past. The winter storms can be every bit as violent as a hurricane just in a short burst, right? Well, before those storms get here, find out if you've got damage. ParishBuilt.com is the website. The reason it's so important to do business with someone you know is it's someone you can rely on, someone you know who's going to answer your phone call, someone you know is going to be here tomorrow, someone who isn't going to demand an upfront deposit and then bail. ParishBuilt.com is the website, ParishBuilt.com, or 364-1007. But hop on the website, fill out the little form, have them come look at your roof. They'll let you know if you need a repair or a full-on replacement at ParishBuilt.com. All right, so there's a number of components of Jeff Landry's massive tax reform plan that are getting approval from the House Ways and Means Committee. And this is how this particular session is working out here because it's so specified. Everything's starting on Ways and Means before moving to the House floor. Then it'll move over to the Senate Finance Committee and then over to the Senate floor. There's a couple of items on the Senate side that I don't know that we're going to get to because they're more of a crime and punishment judicial nature. That's a topic for another day, though. But I noticed that yesterday, and we're going to have to get to it at some point. But anyway, not yesterday. I believe this was Sunday. The Ways and Means Committee approved legislation to lower the corporate income tax rate that businesses have to pay from 7.5% down to 3.5%. Economic Development Secretary Susan Bourgeois says this is going to help bring more jobs into the state.
If you look at the states that have no or less tax than we do, they're seeing it immediately. It's a very real thing. We hear it as we talk to site selection consultants. We hear it when we talk to owners.
Now, this is going to cause a dip in revenue, to be sure, and to make up for that, the same legislation calls for the elimination of the film tax credit program and a tax credit for digital media and software companies. This is going to be detrimental to our economy because this is money that when you don't have the credit, you don't have the revenue. The business just packs up and goes somewhere else. It's not like you've got built out infrastructure. It's not like they have any stake in the game here. Chris Reed, who owns a software development company in New Orleans, or a number of companies in New Orleans, urged the panel not to get rid of the digital media and software tax credit because it is a job creator.
Do not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Preserve this incentive. Give LED the ability to keep leveraging it to create growth in this critically important sector.
The legislation also eliminates tax credits for those involved in the renovation of historic buildings. This is another one that's caught a number of people's eyes. Revenue Secretary Richard Nelson argued these credits are not bringing more jobs into the state.
We can renovate all the buildings. We can have all the incentives. If everybody's leaving the state of Louisiana, you know it's not working. And so I can tell you what's going on right now is we're losing 40,000 people a year. What we're doing is not working.
I agree with that. What we're doing is not working, but it's on the scale of what we're doing on the big things isn't working. I mean, if you couple a better, a more favorable tax environment, a more favorable insurance environment, a more favorable work environment with a tax incentive to refurb out an older building, which we've seen in so many different municipalities, so many different big cities, you couple those two things together and companies are all over that. At least that's been the trend. Throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That's a phrase that's probably going to stick around a good bit. All right, 6:30, here's news. Oh. Do I want to talk with former WWE Tag Team Champion Titus O'Neil?
I mean, Titus O'Neil.
He wrote a book called Wrestling with Fatherhood, My Championship Journey to My Greatest Title, Dad.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this guy. Then again, I hadn't watched wrestling in a very long time. Seems cool, though.
Yeah. Damn, if it was this week, I'd book it.
Oh, crap.
Played for Florida. He played football for the University of Florida.
Oh, cool. Add some layers to the onion.
Not only did he play for Florida, he played for Florida from 1997 to 2000. So he was in Tiger Stadium the night that they were number one and they got beat, and we rushed the field. Yep, this is happening.
Yeah, that just added the... Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, to have those local kind of tie-ins like that, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only reason I do these.
Yeah.
Although, I didn't find a spot for Tim Matheson this morning. We got to find one for him tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it'll be the 8:35 segment. Vice President John Hoynes from West Wing.
How was that?
Fun.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Okay. Request is in. What about Cold Case? Who killed John Benet Ramsey? I'm going to have to go back and see if we have a Monday morning meeting for this one. Correct, Galen. Correct, Troy. You're both spot on this one. What we're doing with historics and film credits is working. It's preventing out-migration from getting worse. They aren't the solution, but they're a contributing factor. 100%. And then Galen follows that comment with saying, and eliminating both of these will do nothing to offsetting lost taxes. They will both dwindle to zero revenue. Yes, in fact, it'll exacerbate the lost taxes because you're going to have fewer people with income, or you're going to have more people with less income, I should say, because of it.
Good morning, sir. You ready? All right, we'll have you on here shortly.
Definitely starting off a little cooler this morning with the rest of your forecast. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan. OneDrive. Damn it. Stupid OneDrive. Documents. Why would it save here? Now what? Why can't this thing do what I want it to? OneDrive, Guarantee Corporation, documents. Never mind. 638, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Today's show is going to be a good mix of continued look back on last week's election and looking in on the current special session on tax reform. Joining us now for a touch of both of those things is Jeff Crouere. He's on with us just about every Tuesday morning, unless everything goes wrong in his world on a Tuesday morning, in which case he has to bail. What's happening, Jeff?
Hey, glad to be with you this morning, Brian.
Glad to have you back up and running, man. All right, walk us through Election Day for you last week, because this was a big one for all of us, but give us your takeaways.
Well, I voted on Election Day. I was one of those who waited, and we had no problems, and it was smooth, and I was pleased to get a good report from the precinct workers that you had, good turnout and no problems, and then we had a radio coverage that night. We had an election night that we did that was a multi-hour deal that we had some challenges, all day setting up, but we got it done, and it was fun. I mean, it was a fun day as far as history. I thought it was, a relatively smooth day here in Louisiana as far as the election, and I thought, nationwide, I was expecting problems, and there weren't. I was very pleased that we had, the election that we did. Now, what I find irritating is that, they're still voting. I mean, they're still counting the votes. I mean, we're a week later, and, in parts of California and Arizona, I mean, they're not finished counting, which is ridiculous.
It is.
So
yeah,
that's got to be addressed, Brian.
It does, and a lot of it has to do with all the mail-in stuff and whatnot. But, Jeff, I honestly don't know why they can't start counting them the moment they get in. Like,
right.
Keep the rules the same. Just start your count sooner. As long as you're not disclosing what the count is, as long as that remains behind closed doors, kept to your Secretary of State's office. You do your homework before class, like do your homework. Do your homework the night before, not as you walk into class. Like I feel like this is cramming for a test type of stuff.
I agree, and I do think it leads to questions when a week later we're still going through this, and I don't know. We'll see if Trump and the Republicans can do something about it. And now, of course, we know Republicans have control of the House and the Senate, and of course the White House. So we're not talking about much of a margin, but we're talking about, at least control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be another dicey situation in the House to try to lead an extremely thin majority.
Yeah.
But hey, the Cleo Fields district did not change the majority between Republicans and Democrats. It could have.
Yeah.
It was close. But they pulled it out.
So walk down that path for just a second, because if you're Donald Trump and you're putting together a cabinet, and I've heard Jeff Landry's name come up a couple of different times now, do you hold that against him? It didn't, because it played out the way it played out, everybody's okay, but his first order of business was to hand a seat to the Democrats.
Well, I think Landry's held in high regard. So yesterday we had our Politics with a Punch in New Orleans, and our special guest was Governor Landry.
Yeah.
So, we had Governor Landry on our panel. I had a nice sit-down with him on stage in front of our whole crowd. We had a sellout crowd there last night. We had a massive turnout for the event. And I addressed that with the governor. And, he said that, he's not going to be taking a position with the administration. He's staying in Louisiana. I thought we made a little bit of news. You had the local TV there covering it. And, he recommended Matt Whitaker, who was the former interim AG. He thought he was the best, and if not him, he said the senator from Missouri, Senator Schmidt. So those were his two recommendations. But he said he was staying, and I got the feeling that the administration, had reached out to him to see if there was an interest.
Yeah.
Because, I think there's, a close relationship there. He has Corey Lewandowski is one of his key advisors, and we know how close Corey Lewandowski is to the administration. I think he's close to, the Trump children. And I think
Don Jr. was at the inauguration, wasn't he?
Yeah, Don Jr. was, and Kimberly. Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a very, very, very close relationship. And I think, he was saying that he was named the second most conservative governor in the country, behind Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas. So he is, he's held in high regard, and I think that would have been a natural, with his background as Attorney General and the need for a strong Attorney General. But he ruled it out. So. My impression from having that opportunity to visit with him for as long as we did is that he, just really loves what he's doing here in Louisiana. He just loves being governor.
Yeah, and this was the gig that he wanted. He was all in, and got a lot of backing very, very early on. So much so that it made all of 2023 just I don't want to say a waste of time, but like you had this group of 6 other candidates basically carpooling from town hall meeting to town hall meeting, and Jeff Landry didn't have to go to any of them, and just coasts on through. And look, I'm not critiquing the job he's doing. He's doing a great job on so many different fronts. It's just that was his first order of business. That's the only reason I bring it up.
And I do think it's obviously a legitimate issue to bring up, because it was something that I think a lot of people were taken aback by, but. I guess in his view, it was something to get done, get out of the way, and take care of it, and then move on to, everything else in his agenda, from crime to education to now, of course, what he's doing with the special session. So I think, he's got a lot of support among the state. If maybe another governor had pushed that through, at a different point in his administration, there would have been a different reaction. But he did it first. He's in a strong honeymoon period right now, so I don't think there's been much negative reaction to it. Most people felt like it was going to get done anyway, that was, what the courts would have mandated. And then, although, we'll see what the Supreme Court eventually decides, and this might be another short-term, tenure of Cleo Field. By the way, that was an interesting election result because he came close to being put into a runoff by Elbert Guillory, who didn't have much money and wound up doing a very respectable job, getting a good number of votes.
Yeah, I'm in that weird spot because I'm in the district. I'm in Cleo Fields' district now, and it's a weird spot because Elbert Guillory actually won 8 of the 10 parishes that are in the district, and he got annihilated in Baton Rouge. He got 25% of the vote in Baton Rouge, and he honestly, Jeff, he didn't spend a whole lot of time here. He came on this show once, and it was tough to track him down after that. And he did his due diligence everywhere else, but man, you leave Cleo Fields' home base uncovered. If he had picked up 5% more in Baton Rouge, this thing's in a runoff, and all the national dollars would have come to us. It would have just been.
So you think there could have been more coordination between maybe Elbert Guillory and Coach Sid? Possibly,
because the state took over Coach Sid's campaign as well, which he did very, very well. In fact, he's you go into the runoff already having the largest number of votes, 34% from the November election, and then you add the 4% that other Republicans got, and now Sid Edwards is heading into December 7th saying, I need 12% plus 1 vote in order to pull this off, and
then, Brian, the turnout's going to be a different mix in a December election, and that's going to, in my view, favor Coach Sid.
Okay, so you were you listening to my show yesterday? Because you're repeating me. Here we go. Here's what you got, okay? You've got this seemingly perfect storm for Sid Edwards, okay? You are already leading. You add the 4% for the other Republicans. Sharon Weston Broome shared Democrat vote with Ted James, but there was also a significant amount of pragmatic Republicans who get tired of being Charlie Brown trying to kick the football, and they voted for Ted James as kind of the pragmatist, I don't want to say consolation candidate, the compromise candidate there. Get a pro-business guy who comes in from the Small Business Administration. There were a number of Republicans. Scott McKnight endorsed him. Paula Davis endorsed him. So you had Eddie Rispoli endorsed him. You had a number of Republicans in the Ted James camp. So now you're Sid Edwards, and if you're basing it off the November numbers, you got 12% to go. Can you grab 12% of Ted James's vote? Now, the part you didn't mention yet, Jeff, on the December ballot is a 2% sales tax for the city of St. George. St. George's entire funding mechanism is on that ballot. If you're in St. George, you've got motivation to show up on December 7th.
Right.
So you're right. The numbers are going to be different there than they were in November. The turnout's going to be different there than it was in November. And this is stacking up to where Sid's got a really good shot.
Yeah, and that's the first time in many years you'll have a Republican winning. And I just think it is a good scenario for him. And some of these Republicans that didn't get on board, should get on board because he's got a legitimate shot.
Oh,
and
no doubt.
Of course, he's an unknown. He's never run before. He's a coach. I mean, he hadn't voted in a long time, but he's been doing other things. He's been coaching. But I think he's got a unique background in that, he's well respected as a coach. He's impacted the lives of so many young people in a positive way. He's focusing on the crime issue, which is such an important issue in Baton Rouge. So we'll see. It'll be interesting, Brian. I think he's got a real shot. That, by the way, that I mentioned in your program a long time ago. Watch out for Coach Sid.
Yep, you did. You absolutely did. That being said, Sharon Weston Broome is a seasoned politician and a winner repeatedly. Not just as mayor, but in the state senate as well. So I guarantee you, she'll be up for the competition for sure. So in the meanwhile, you got a show to get to. We didn't even get to the special session on tax reform. That's okay. Man. It'll be around next week when you rejoin us again. He's Jeff Crouere. We always appreciate the time. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. 6:50. Oh, he is like word for word stealing my damn notes. All right, we got your money now coming your way right now. Quick break after that. When we come back, let's talk about St. George. That'll be next. Oh, Troy says, but Coach Sid's stronghold is in Lettlow's district. I want to see the EBR precinct breakdown to see where all of Sid's support came from. Okay, but if Letlow's district is St. George, so walk the path with me here. If you're in St. George, you don't have a presidential race to show up for. You don't have a congressional race to show up for. You do have a mayor's race to show up for, and you're likely showing up to vote for the 2% sales tax. Because if you want your city to have any funding at all, other than permits and the like, if you want your city to have a regular stream of funding, you have to show up on December 7th to get that done. So turnout in St. George is going to be greater than in the rest of East Baton Rouge Parish. So, like, let's say you're in North Baton Rouge, okay? You have one-third the motivation to show up. You're not voting for president. You're not voting for Congress. You are voting for mayor. Turnout's going to be less. Turnout is going to be less. So it's one of those times where if Sharon can pull this off, it's going to take every trick in her book. Not dirty tricks, y'all. I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm just saying, as a seasoned politician, as somebody who knows how to do this stuff, knows how to run a campaign, if you're Sharon, do you just write off all of St. George and work on your stronghold? Or do you try to go business by business, road by road? Think about this. If you're Sharon Weston Broom, would it behoove you to have when was Jones Creek redone? Was that under Sharon's tenure? Or was that Greenlight program under Kip? Let's just use Jones Creek, whether it was Sharon's or not. Let's call it a Move EBR project, okay? If you're Sharon, rather than putting Sharon Weston Broom standard campaign signs out, I would put out campaign signs all up and down Jones Creek Road that said, this road brought to you by the Sharon Weston Broom administration. Want more? Vote for me. As one facet of an overall campaign. My comment was related to whether Sid could have helped Guillory. Because that's what no, Sid couldn't have helped Guillory, but the state party running both of them could have coupled somehow. That's a good point. Let's see how this sounds.
Yeah. He had no idea.
No clue. Oh, I'm going to have way too much fun with that. 656 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. I'll just kind of piggyback on what Ray had to say there in traffic. This is the biggest mess this morning in traffic is I-10 westbound. And when you take 190, I'm looking at it right here. When Ray says it's 38 minutes from Port Allen to the Opelousas area, basically it's 38 minutes to get to I-49. And if you're trying to scooch around what's going on the interstate, really I-49 is your best bet. Like you might as well take it all the way there because there's no real spot on 190 to get off and go back southbound to meet 10 until you get to I-49. So once you're on it, you might as well stay on it. I mean, this is an absolute nightmare with the traffic as far as what has built up and what remains as they're working that accident. And 190's only get worse as the morning wears on. So please be aware as you're making your way that way this morning. We have got a lot to get to here. Every Monday on Talk 107.3 FM, Mondays at 5 p.m., we have a new show. It's called Mondays with the Mayor. It's the mayor of St. George, Dustin Yates, and he brings in usually somebody else with him from the growing government there, or the now building government out there in St. George. Yesterday was Patty Cook, who's a councilwoman. It's been an interesting ride thus far and will continue to be. The nature of the show is to take questions and answer questions from the folks in St. George and, for that matter, in Baton Rouge as well. It's not every day you get a new city built in your backyard. And along with that comes so much minutia, so much to sift through. So that's why Dustin Yates, the mayor of St. George, wanted to do this. He said, let's create an open forum to answer questions. But there's also some times where you just got cool stuff that you have to take note of. Like writing your city's constitution. In fact, that's going to be adopted tonight at the St. George Council meeting. Dustin Yates talked about this yesterday.
I guess approximately about 3 months ago, I appointed a Home Rule Charter Commission, which is something that you have to do by law if you want to create a Home Rule Charter. And for those of you all listening and wondering what the heck is a Home Rule Charter, probably the easiest way to explain what it is really is it's your city's constitution. It's your foundation. It's your base document that kind of allows you to operate as a government. Without it, we would operate, and what we're currently operating under is the Larson Act, which is a document that dates back to 1898. So a lot of things in that document are good. A lot of them are a little bit antiquated. So we wanted to kind of put St. George in a position early on to at least have the opportunity as citizens to vote on their plan of government.
And that's going to happen tonight. That's something that we haven't seen in the last 20 plus years since Central became a city. Honestly, that's the last time we saw it happen here, and it's not going to happen again anytime in the near future either. So just little moments like that you want to take note of. By the way, once again, Mondays with the mayor, St. George Mayor Dustin Yates joins me every Monday at 5 p.m. right here on Talk 107.3. Here comes news. Hour 2 is next. What you say, Rich? How did he miss?
Obviously, he doesn't give a shit.
No, he's got his head. Is his head down? Look at his head. No, his head's up. How did he miss that? Look at this.
Like he just,
Oh, no. You know what? Back that up 2 more frames. That film starts 2 frames too late. Because I bet you the step before that is juked this way. Because it looks like he's pivoting to how Eight's going to his left. I bet you he got faked out of his job. Marvin Gaye said, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. And heard it through the grapevine. I stand by that.
See, if I had a friend like you growing up in the channel, I'd be a more complete person.
Faked out of his jock. Yeah, the feed that I get where I'm at is the same one that goes to the Jumbotron, so that's my view. And it was ass there, too. No. I don't know. Because he hasn't been that good against other teams. Other teams have held him to like 30 or 40 yards rushing. He had 185. After last year, we had 155. It's not a bad drive. 39 minutes from Port Allen to I-49 is not terrible. It's heavy, but it's not terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Well, 10 westbound is shut down just past Henderson. So traffic's being rerouted there. So 7:05, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Busy hour 2. We're going to do a little more election recap on a local level. Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber is in with us. That'll be 7:15, 7:35. Chief Morse going to hop in. We got a lot to talk about with the chief this morning. Among other things, let's talk a little bit about the Safe BR report that's out there. What is BRPD looking at from the budget? Did they have to take a hit? We'll talk with the chief about these things, crime stats, and a number of other different items with Baton Rouge Police Chief TJ Morse. That's coming up at 7:35. We start off the hour, though, with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Well, speaking of those crime stats, add to them right here. One person was injured in a Tuesday morning shooting on Florida Boulevard. Officials said this happened at a gas station on Florida at North Ardenwood. That Kangaroo Station is where it was at. I actually drove by this on my way into work this morning. It's about, 4:45 or so? 10 minutes to 5. As I based off of where the Fox News rundown was at. It was about 10 minutes to 5 when I drove by, and there were still like 6 cop cars in the parking lot. As I'm driving by, I'm like, well, something happened. Well, that's what happened, apparently. One person was taken to the hospital. No more information's out there yet on the condition of the victim or what led to the shooting.
Number 4.
Greg Bowser's stepping down. The Louisiana Chemical Association and the sister organization Chemical Industry Alliance have initiated a search to identify their next leader. The organizations made that announcement yesterday. Current president and CEO Greg Bowser is offering up his he's offering up his resignation, but is committed to supporting the organization through 2025 as needed to facilitate a seamless transition of leadership. Bowser assumed the role of president and CEO back in 2016.
Number 3.
No state nor LSU funds were used for, quote, any aspect of the Tiger that made an appearance at the LSU-Alabama game over the weekend. Governor Jeff Landry's office put this announcement out yesterday. The office, however, declined to answer where the money came from to pay the organization that owns the Bengal Tiger, named Omar Bradley. One of many questions that remain unanswered in the wake of the arrival of the Tiger from Florida, marking the first time since 2015 that a live Tiger had visited the sidelines of Tiger Stadium. Omar couldn't tackle Jalen Milroe either.
Number 2.
LSU will be sticking with that Alabama game. How about a $250,000 fine for Tiger fans throwing trash on the field during the game against Alabama? The SEC made this announcement yesterday, and that's not all. On top of the fine, the university will be required to use security video and broadcast footage to find the fans who threw the trash and ban them from attending any LSU athletics events for the rest of the athletic and academic year. The SEC told LSU they also have to review and update their stadium alcohol policies, but they stopped short of suspending alcohol sales.
Number 1.
New documents obtained by our news partners over at WBRZ show that 3 correctional deputies for East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office who were arrested for assaulting an inmate filmed the encounter inside the parish prison. According to a search warrant, former EBR Sheriff's deputies Elijah Christopher, Julius Connor, and Noah Jenkins filmed their alleged assault of a parish prison detainee. I'm grabbing this one from WBRZ, so this is their description, okay? The video shows Christopher Connor and Jenkins spraying a handcuffed detainee with pepper spray while in and out of his cell. The men are laughing, and Christopher is jumping up and down with excitement. Again, BRZ's description. As it happens, Christopher also hits the inmate in the face twice. The inmate did not resist, nor did he attempt to fight back. What you got, John?
Well, how about Marco Rubio as Secretary of State?
Sold!
Reuters says that is who the president-elect is going to tap for the post.
I like it. I do. Here's the thing. One part that I'm curious about is as the president goes around picking out who he wants in his key positions and whatnot, we do have to keep an eye on the numbers in Congress and the Senate, don't we?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Republicans now have a majority on both sides. Well, okay, you're up 53-47 is your majority on the Senate side, and you're going to lose Marco Rubio.
Right.
At least until there's a special election or somebody else is appointed, right? Like, I'm all about it. Love me some Marco Rubio, but at the same time, though, let's not lose this lead that we just got.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, toy giant Mattel says it deeply regrets an error on the packaging of its Wicked movie-themed dolls, which mistakenly links toy buyers to a pornographic website.
There's something you don't see every day.
Oh, my gosh, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's so unfortunate.
We were asking in the last hour, what kid reads the box? Yeah, if you're a kid, you just tear open the box and you play with the toys, right? Yeah. Well, my wife texted me during the break. She's like, "You know, your son reads the box, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, that would be my kid. That would be James."
Yeah, it is probably more so with boys than it is with girls,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
I would think.
I don't think James. Like, probably not.
Not with Wicked dolls.
No, what I'm saying is like it's.
I don't know.
It's going to be the parents that are going to go to the box and transcribe a URL from, because it's not like you can click on a cardboard box to get you to a website.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of the series or whatever, even if it's not Wicked, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like you're looking for other toys, looking for other things.
I'm with you.
More in for more than you bargained
hang on,
for.
quick shout out to former head of Visit Baton Rouge, Paul Arrigo. He texted in about Marco Rubio, said when Florida's governor appoint a senator.
Oh.
So yes, that would be the right answer there.
All right.
And you don't have to worry in Florida. I'm more talking about when other posts are taken. Don't go poaching someone from a state that might not get you a Republican replacement. So But shout out, Paul. Always appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, appreciate that. Hey, when worlds collide here, Applebee's and IHOP are joining forces for one location that will house both restaurants.
I'm still at a loss. I was at a loss last hour. I'm at a loss this hour. Do you rebrand it? Do you come up with a whole new name?
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I mean, they're both owned by the same parent company, right?
Right.
But this morphing of just two levels of, you finally have the perfect place for all of Reese Bobby's meals. It's just now you've got where This is where if you're Reese Bobby, you can get kicked out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh man. Yeah, I think about the layout. I mean, how's this gonna look? I don't know.
Do you have
I'm
all
really
the junk
curious.
on the wall, all the pseudo,
the memorabilia?
Yeah. I'm not a chain restaurant guy, so this isn't going to be for me either way.
Right.
I mean, I could do some IHOP for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
but
absolutely.
I'm not. You offer me up an Applebee's, and I'm gonna be like, no, I'll go get a burger from curbside. Thank you very much.
Hey, there we go.
So yeah, gross. Not curbside.
No, not curbside.
What an. I mean, this is a pairing that like. It's
bound for disaster, right?
Yes.
I mean,
you go there if you want to punch, man. You go there. You're going,
late night.
It's a late night. You got to blow off a couple of steam,
God
a little
bless
bit of
those
steam.
employees,
Yeah.
man. The
I
stuff
know.
they're gonna have to deal with.
I know.
Oh,
Mm.
they might fight back though. They might fight back.
The only way this is a win if it's setting up for a reality TV show.
Applebee's and IHOP are like, come at me, bro.
I know. I will hit you back. I will hit you back for real. 713 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber in the house with us. Let's recap last week's elections on the local front. That's next. All right. So, is Chief here? Oh. In the first hour when we were talking about the Applebee's IHOP thing, I said, what do you call a combined Applebee's IHOP? And John goes, I don't know. And I said, domestic assault. He found the website? Oh, I'm dying to know. Where do you want to start? Seven 16 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP holding at 61 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. I'll take it. Time to chat with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Time to welcome back Trey Godfrey to get a recap on last Tuesday's elections. Trey, welcome back. How are you, man?
Doing awesome. Always good to be here, and I will take that 61 degrees any day.
Oh, I know. It's when you texted me that you were here and I come down there to break, it's like, wow, it's legit holding. We're good right now. Yeah, let's roll. I'll even push it down to the 50s if we can. All right, we got a lot of ground to cover. Last week's elections on a local level brought a number of surprises along with them. Can we start with the mayor's race?
Let's do it.
Okay. What were your takeaways there? Because I was floored by what came out.
So was I. So you used the word surprises, and I think that characterizes the mayor's race. We saw going into the mayor's race polls that claimed a lot of different things. You had some that had Mayor Broome on top, some that had Ted James on top, and then some that actually had Sid Edwards on top. So we had a pretty good idea of what we thought might happen And that's what didn't happen when the
Right.
results came in.
Because the one that had Sid Edwards on top had Ted James in second.
That's right.
So, yeah, seeing an Edwards Broom runoff, I just was not in the cards.
Last time I was here, I talked about not being a betting man. If I were, that is not what I would have taken for the runoff scenario. Look, most people had Broom James in runoff scenarios, and so that's what the expectation was.
Yes, because there was a move, like, you're going to have a Democrat and a Republican likely, because that's going to be your split right there to make up the majority of the vote. But with this particular race, there were a group of people that wanted Sharon Weston Broom gone, but saw the reality that you're not going to elect a Republican. So Ted James became your pragmatic choice.
Therefore, a lot of pollsters had James with the broadest coalition.
I saw him at 40% in one poll, 39.88% in one poll.
I never saw that one. I saw him high, but not quite that high. So as the results started coming in, it held true to form, and for a while, all three candidates were tied about 31%.
Thereabouts.
And then absentee and mail-in votes, that tranche of votes dropped. And then Sid surged into the lead, and Coach held that lead for just about the rest of the night, much to the surprise of a whole lot of us watching.
Yeah, and now he's in an interesting spot because he got 34% of the vote, which is the largest chunk, the biggest plurality. And you can go ahead and assume that the 1% that Tammy Cook got is going to roll over to him. You can assume that the 2% that Steve Myers got and the 1% that Nathaniel Hearn got will roll over to him. So that puts him at roughly 38% of the vote, meaning he needs 12% plus a vote in order to cross the finish line. That's not a whole lot when you go back to the idea that there were a number of pragmatic Republicans voting for Ted James who got 28%. If you're looking at divvying up Ted James's 28%, can you garner, if you're Sid Edwards, can you garner 12% of that?
So this is all one big math equation. The short answer to that question is potentially so, especially because it's going to be a low turnout election. And so who wins is going to be driven by who comes out to vote.
Yeah.
There's no more presidential election at the top of this ballot anymore. And so this and a couple of other down ballot races is all we have.
Okay. However, there's a big however here, and it plays in Sid Edwards' favor. The city of St. George has their entire funding mechanism on the ballot. That 2% sales tax is on the ballot. So if you are in St. George, you have every ounce of motivation to go to the polls. Whether you're in favor of the tax or not, whether you're in favor of the funding or not, you are a St. George resident who's going to the polls, and that has to play in Sid's favor.
You beat me to it. That's exactly where I was going with that, and that 100% plays into Sid's favor. Now, he is out there doing a ton of work. From what I understand, one of the stations is going to host a debate, the two of them head-to-head. And so the fact that that's taking place tells me that both candidates are locked in and very, very serious, and also understand how much they have to be locked in to beat the other.
So that being said, never, ever, ever going to underestimate Sharon Weston Broom. Drop your politics at the door because she is a seasoned veteran. She knows how to campaign, and you put her on a debate format. Of the billion town halls that they did and candidate panels that they did, I actually got to MC one of them. She's impressive on that in that particular venue. That is her home turf.
Let's just look at the stats for a second. 35 years of public service, and however many elections that is that number to zero.
Right.
She has never taken an L in an election before. She knows how to win.
Right.
And I think that will always make her formidable, especially in a situation like this. Two-term incumbent, she's done this before. She knows the formula. So this is going to make for a really interesting next 3 weeks.
Do you think the secret recording hurt Ted? We got him. I mean, did that hurt him?
It did more than a lot of people thought.
Okay.
There was a notion early on that it was a nothing burger. It would blow over. Perhaps it would backfire. I think it had its effect on him. I think the unintended consequence probably drove some voters over to Sid, because Sid played the role of the adult in the room saying, hey, look at this fighting. That's what politics is, and I'm not a politician.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that for sure. And the thing of it is number one, dirty. Number two, I talked to Ted about this, and it was when I first heard the recording, I was like, this is a very selective soundbite, and it sounds like it was part of the woke and MAGA comment. Yeah. I said, it sounds like it's part of an overall joke, and when I talked to him, he said it was. He got the endorsement of Devontae Lewis and the endorsement of Eddie Rispone. You can't get more woke than Devontae Lewis. You can't get more MAGA than Eddie Rispone, so I'm woke and I'm MAGA. And then you just extrapolate, I'm woke and I'm MAGA. And then you have voice guys saying he's trying to manipulate the people of St. George, which was not what the soundbite was even about.
Right. Well, there's one view of this that says, look, all is fair in love and politics, right? Everything's on the table. And on the other side, it became a little cringy for some, saying, wait a minute, do we really put this out there?
I'm shocked it didn't have more of a negative effect on the guilty party. That to me, it felt like that crossed the line. It was just straight up dirty.
I've been in some conversations with some folks who said, look, this is going to end up having backfired.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, she still walked away with the second most votes and is heading to this runoff.
Again, she's a seasoned veteran and knows how to do this. Let's talk about a couple of the other races a little bit further down ballot. Were there any surprises in the council that caught your eye?
No surprises. In District 1, Brandon Knoll,
that
who's
was a surprise to me.
So you figured he'd just go straight through?
Win outright.
Yep. With a fairly popular Republican in the race, they split those Republican votes. I think his Republican opponent did 15, 17 points or so.
Gary Price got 17 points. Yep. Which was just enough to. Brandon Knoll got 45%. I don't know why, if you're a Republican in District 1, you want to throw away the mayor pro tem slot. I don't understand the lack of wanting that position of influence. You're not just a councilman at that point.
That's right. Brandon's got a lot of juice behind him. I was a little surprised that another Republican hopped in that race.
Same.
But look, to do 45 points in a race like that is really strong. It bodes well for him going into the runoff. And whether he keeps that pro tem seat is going to be a different conversation among the council come January.
Yeah.
But super good guy, and will do a good job in that pro tem seat for as long as he does have it.
The District 2 is also going to be in a runoff between Eugene Collins and Anthony Kenny. My only interaction with Eugene has been through the NAACP. He is a thoughtful guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. I don't know anything about Anthony Kenny. What do you know about that race?
Anthony Kenny, young man, really strong. Like, you meet Anthony and you say, oh, this guy has a really bright future.
Okay.
Very well known in the Scotlandville and the Scotlandville High School alumni community.
Okay.
Eugene is a known commodity. He is a future PAC endorsee. Very impressive throughout the interview process. So these two guys polled at about the same number in a 4-person race. And so they've got a lot of work to do in the next 3 weeks to win over the remainder of that community.
The only other race that really surprised me here, well, I shouldn't say that. It's not the only other one, but Darrell Hurst over in District 5. Love Darrell, but don't give him 78% of the vote. That's just going to feed the ego.
So, Darrell, look, I love Darrell. Darrell and I spoke about a week prior to the election, and I told him that my prediction was that he'd do 75 points.
Oh, wow.
And he did 78.
Yeah.
And so I was surprised he did that many, considering the names that were in that race.
Marcus Randall was in that race. And look, I know Marcus Randall does not have a political background, but neither is Sid Edwards.
Exactly.
So you had, Darrell Hurst versus Bluegrass Miracle.
Yep.
I figured that would, and Darrell Hurst versus a known football coach. So I did not think that 18% was going to be where it was at.
Yep. So the thing I will say about Darrell is this. Darrell is more like the mayor of District 5 than the councilman of District 5. He takes it that seriously.
Yes, he does.
And so he's got the people. He's always in front of the people. And so, regardless of the campaign or the money or anything else, when it comes to getting the people to push a button in the booth, he's got them.
Yep. Well, and Daryl's already come back on wanting to get to work for the next term, like laying out his agenda. Like since election day, he was on Friday, talking about what he's doing next, what's coming up next. I'm like, you already won. You can stop campaigning. He's like, no, it's time to go back to work. So completely with him on that front. Twana Harris versus Alfred Bell. No real surprise there. Twana Harris was running Lamont Cole's office, so her pulling in 53% of the vote does not really come as a shock. 60-40 for Carolyn Coleman to win. Lori White Adams, was that a surprise to you that she won outright?
No, not at all. We expected Lori to take that.
It was a two-person race, so
yeah.
somebody was going to win outright.
That's right. That's right. And she put up, 69 points, I want to say?
67, yeah.
67. So the questions about Lori White Adams, of course, deal with some of the allegations that have been made about her husband. But her as a council person in District 11, we figured that would be a pretty big spread.
Yeah, I thought those allegations were going to take a bigger chunk out of her. She would put up an impressive number, and it really shows the commitment she's made to her district through being a council person overall. It's just that kind of stood out to me. We got Trey Godfrey in from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We got a couple more minutes recapping last Tuesday's elections. Trey, were you surprised by the parish-wide plan of government not moving forward?
Going into it, we had looked at some polls and saw that the approval number was pretty low.
Yeah.
Part of it was a lot of people didn't understand everything that those amendments would have done.
It was 47 items.
It was a
wrapped
lot.
up into one. And I talked with Rowdy about this when Councilman Goday about this when he was on. I was like, you're talking about a voter base that's going to look for 2 or 3 reasons to vote no instead of 47 reasons to vote yes.
Good point.
And by the way, they're underpaid. They're overworked. They signed up for the gig, yes, but I mean the level of compensation of that gig is not where it needs to be.
That's right.
But lumping in, giving themselves a raise was probably ill-advised for the rest of it.
That is a tough sell. The other thing I'll say was the ballot language left a lot to be desired. So when folks got in there to read what the ballot language said, you really didn't have a good sense of what you were voting on.
Yeah. And that's problematic. If they just said, "Do you want a city manager? Yes or no?"
Right.
That would have been so much easier, and probably would have passed as well. Last one before we get you out of here. We're going to skip past the BRAC stuff to get to, speaking of bad ballot language, City of Baton Rouge 6 Mills.
Good grief.
The firemen got their raise, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
But talk about bad ballot language. That's a lot to overcome, and they did it.
So I spoke to multiple people who were saying, well, what is this thing that we're actually voting on? In good for the guys and ladies who run into the building, instead of out of it like we will whenever something goes wrong.
He is Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber with a little recap. Always appreciate the time, man. Good segment.
Great being here.
We got ABC News coming your way right now, then local news, traffic, and weather. Baton Rouge Police Chief Morse is up next. That went by too fast.
Awesome.
Way too fast. Kill the mics for a second. Cooler start to the morning. Will it stick around, though? Here's the McCade Cowan. All right, well. We get the Facebook comments for sure. The caller part. Yes. And between you and me. We couldn't dump out of that. It's been a process trying to get a new one. So, all right. Coming up on 738 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to welcome back to the studio Baton Rouge Police Chief Morse. Chief Morse, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Haldane. How are you? Happy birthday. I heard you had one over the weekend.
Saturday was my birthday. Got almost everything I wanted. It was a great
Didn't get
day.
the LSU win.
Did not get the LSU win. Saints beat the Falcons on Sunday. I'll take that all day long, but did not get the LSU win that I'd asked for. And the thing was, last time my birthday was on a Saturday, LSU beat Alabama in 2019.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, really rewinding the clock back to 2002, my birthday was on the day of the Bluegrass Miracle against Kentucky.
Wow.
I know!
So you thought you'd have brought some luck.
I really thought I was going to help out, but between me and the fake tiger, it just didn't work out. I'm not dragging you into that conversation. We got a lot of ground to cover. Can we start with budget this morning?
Sure.
The mayor's out with her first, round of the proposal and whatnot. It's got to be worked through and all that. What's it looking like from BRPD's end?
Yeah, so we're still working with the mayor's office on final numbers. The first projection type things show a little over 8% budget decrease for the Baton Rouge Police Department, about $9 million for the 2025 year. We're trying to see how we're going to absorb that, what that's going to look like. With the formation of St. George just affecting all of the parish and the parish budget, but formation of St. George doesn't affect the Baton Rouge Police Department's services at all.
That's something that I've had questions about. When I actually asked your predecessor about this as well, was why would St. George affect the budget of the Baton Rouge Police Department when the Baton Rouge Police Department is not called to serve St. George?
Yeah, well, I mean, our budget comes from the greater, just because of the consolidated government, the greater budget of, it's very similar. A lot of people don't realize, the sheriff, he gets taxes from the entire parish.
Oh, yeah.
Including the citizens of Baton Rouge.
Yes.
But there's no policing from the sheriff's office inside of the city of Baton Rouge. So it's kind of a give and take thing there. Mm-hmm. People from the parish pay into this pot, and so it's all that one big thing.
I'm guessing there's a hope to whittle that 8% down a little bit?
Yeah, we might be able to work some things out with some ARP funds and some things. So it's still an ongoing conversation.
With that, I mean, we've seen a number of increases in pay to try and bring BRPD up to the level that it should be at. Not that you can ever quantify where it should be, but bring it up to a level that is more competitive around the area. Would this be a curtailing of that, or just a trimming of? How do you go about? I mean, it's Baton Rouge Police. We need the help.
Yeah, so we are. It's not a secret. We are short, just like most police departments around the country. A lot of that has to do with pay. Newer generation wants to know what they're making per hour. They're not interested in the fact that our department is CALIA accredited and what our benefits look like and our retirement package and how many specialized divisions. That gets a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But that bottom line of how much money am I making compared to some of the other departments in our area. And the mayor has done a good job previously. 13% over the past several years. But previous studies have showed we need to get some more.
Yes. Yeah, and that 13%, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a win. That's a couple of good wins because it was done in smaller increments.
Yeah, it was done about 3 different increments.
Yeah, to add up to 13%. But it's where Baton Rouge is right now. I mean, crime stats wise, where we are right now, I can't see cutting at all. Somebody else needs to step up here. That's not for you to discuss. I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm sorry. Safe Baton Rouge. I had Neil Patel on a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, talk about their latest report.
Okay.
What were your takeaways from the report?
Yeah, so I thought and I've said this very publicly, I thought the report was I don't know, lack of better words, irresponsible.
Okay.
Kind of foolish, putting the cart before the horse. Left a lot more questions than answers. I think it did a disservice for not only Baton Rouge Police Department, but for the Sheriff's Office and just the city as a whole and law enforcement as a whole, trying to say this is what we need without having some of the key players in the room.
Mhm.
All these things were talked about and decided and without talking to actual law enforcement.
Okay, so for those that have not been following, a big crux of this report was about consolidating sheriff and police office. I mean, this was...
You can call it as it is, not consolidation. It was the elimination of the Baton Rouge Police Department. And it said so many times in the report to dissolve, get rid of the Baton Rouge Police Department.
That being said, y'all do perform different services. I mean, for the sheriff's office, it's the surrounding area and whatnot. For BRPD, you're within the city limits. But beyond that, there's a number of other specializations that get overlooked.
Yeah, correct. I mean, so we are the community police of the citizens of Baton Rouge. We are the citizens of Baton Rouge Police Department. If you got rid of us, then the sheriff's office would have to take over that duty, and you just be folded into the entire parish, and you wouldn't have that one-on-one service. That one-on-one service is why we're nationally accredited. It's why we've had body cameras longer than anybody else in the area. It's why that we're, I show up to council meetings and responsible and take as many meetings as I do and as responsive to the community's wants and needs.
How do you go about responding to a report like this? How do you go about, it's just without, I mean, of course you could put out a press release. You can come on, my show or sound off to the Advocate. But what about getting with the people from Safe BR? Are they open to, meetings and whatnot?
Not really. And the answer I got was because I'm not an elected official.
Interesting.
I went to 2 meetings prior to this report happening, exchanged a few emails, and some of the emails were even, hey, the report I saw, the draft was not correct. Here are some things that need to be changed. A lot of those things were not changed in the final version that I was given.
But your takeaway, your input on this would be expert level at worst.
Yeah, you would think that they would want the opinion of the chief of police.
I would think so. If for no other reason, then you need in order to pull something like this off, you need everybody rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, of course. And, the sheriff, I don't want to speak for him, but he's made very publicly that he's not for any kind of consolidation or elimination of the police department. He doesn't want to take over that burden. The whole theory would be that every single person for the police department would then work for this new department or this new sheriff's office, which that theory is extremely flawed.
That, and it's being spun that we would actually have more coverage with more officers, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
Because every law enforcement office out there is struggling to recruit and retain.
Yeah, I don't know how they jump to these conclusions that it's going to save more money or that it's going to lower crime, because there's no data, no evidence of that.
The saving money aspect, I could see how they could spend it, but I'm of the opinion that we need as many boots on the ground as we can get. And if you've got 2 different outfits that are serving their individual areas the way they're supposed to be, then that's better than trying to squeeze it all down into one.
Yeah,
and
you're still going to need the same number of officers. You're still going to need the same size SWAT team. You're going to still need the same size number of detectives. You're going to still need all of these services that we both provide. And to say that there's an overlap services, I've said it, it's like saying that there's an overlap service with the state police and the sheriff's office, or that there's an overlap services us in Baker, or what. It's just, it's not the same kind of thing.
No, well, yes, there are different departments, but Baker handles Baker.
Right.
Central's actually looking to add some full-time officers right now.
Yeah, I saw that they're trying to expand their budget to go full-time, because right now they're only part-time officers.
Yeah, and it's interesting because on Mondays we have the mayor of St. George come on as they're trying to form their city. They're trying to answer questions from the public along the way, and they have a chief of police, and that's it. Because the sheriff has always handled that area. So their take is the sheriff should continue to handle that area. And I was asking, should the day come that you want to add police officers as well? I mean, we've already seen it in Central, that you might get there. I don't see a time where we're regressing from needing those who protect and serve.
No, of course not. And, having your own police department is a feather in your cap. And, we're the capital city of the state. So how would we not have our own police department?
Well, we don't have our own congressman, but that's a whole other conversation. We got Baton Rouge Police Chief Thomas Morse in with us for a couple more minutes. Speaking of the need for as many boots on the ground as possible, how are we looking crime stats wise? We got about month and a half till we're done with the year.
Yeah, so I think that's an extremely important conversation. A lot of times, perception is reality, and I see it, talked about. Like, I saw, somebody says, "Oh, there was a shooting that happened," and they're like, "Oh, every day there's a shooting," which is not the case. We've actually seen a big decrease. At the beginning of the year, we had a spike in our homicides and shootings. At the first quarter, I think we were like projected to be 90% over where we were last year.
Yeah.
We've seen that drop off, and we've seen it dropped off tremendously. The last numbers I was looking at showed us about 15% higher year to date than we were last year, and we're still dropping. So, that overcoming that perception is reality thing is hard. When just blasted on it on social media and the news, and every day it seems like people are talking about this happening, but it's just not the case. We've so far this year, the Baton Rouge Police Department has handled 170,000 calls for service. We've seized over 1,000 guns, almost 1,100 guns, made 3,000 felony arrests, 516 juvenile arrests. So our men and women are out there doing a lot of good work.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And what I've noticed this year, and tell me if this is just because, like you said, perception's reality, right? What I've noticed this year is when the violence happens, it happens in spurts.
Yeah.
Like we'll go 10, 12 days without a shooting, and then there'll be a weekend where there's 5 of them.
Yeah, and that goes to what we talked about and what we saw at the beginning of the year, and why I formed my special investigation division is because we're having this group on group or retaliation type shootings. So we'll have a shooting that'll happen, and that sparks off a whole bunch of retaliatory type shootings of different groups shooting at each other.
And that's something your predecessor used to say that as well, as today's victim is tomorrow's perp, and today's perp is tomorrow's victim.
Yeah, correct.
So it's just following along with that. So where do we go for the rest of the year?
So for the rest of the year, we got holidays coming up, so we're going to be putting out a bunch of holiday safety tips, of course, just about people being aware when they're shopping online and in the stores. But we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, the model that we've been using that seems to be working, putting more boots on the ground, being proactive and being very strategic about the areas that we're in. Every week we look at these hot spots and we go into those areas and we just try to, go after those specific people that are in those communities, bringing down those communities.
We got less than a minute to go, and I feel bad that I pushed this all the way. I completely forgot. The last time you were on, you were getting ready for the canine competition.
Oh, yes.
How'd that go?
Yeah. So the canine competition went amazingly. I have to give a big shout out to those guys. We had some people that did really well and placed, second and third in different events, and then overall placing as well. We also helped host our motorcycle guys, helped host a competition.
Yeah.
Gulf Coast motorcycle competition, and we got first place team overall in that. As well as first team slow ride, first place in a partner ride, and then a bunch of just other kind of individual awards as well. So motorcycle guys and canine guys doing really well, and also using that opportunity to raise money for the St. Jude Dream Day Foundation.
Oh, wow.
Both
Cool.
events raised a whole lot of money for that organization, so we're proud of that.
Very good stuff. He is Baton Rouge Police Chief T.J. Morse. We always appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Here's your money now. Sorry I pushed that all the way back to the end. Wanted to make sure I covered that.
Right there. I saw him in the corner of my eye. Like,
well, the truth of the matter is, if we absolutely have to, we could skip the report and just carry the spot, because contractually all we're obligated to carry is their advertisement.
Gotcha.
So, we have to carry the report at least once a day, but that's all inside baseball bullshit. Yeah. So the safe BR people, they've been on the right path until now. I don't understand. Like
they had a lot of pressure in the 2 meetings that I went to.
some people now. Woo! Chief was fired up. I like it, though. I like it. Spicy Chief. I'm here for it. 7:55 and Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Nah, I don't blame him. Look, we had that conversation with Neil Patel, and to his credit, Safe VR has been bringing up a lot of good points along the way, but the chief is at 100% within his boundaries to say, no, if you want to come at me, come at me. Keep me in the room for the conversation. So, well, I'm here for it. Good news is we're talking, and that's what I like to see. That's how you move a community forward, is by having the conversation. So that's what we're here for at WBRP. It's open-ended, all sides get represented right here. All right, it's 7:56 to Talk 107.3 FM. Got to tell you about the folks over at Vex European, VEX, VexEuropean.com is the website. If you own a European vehicle, I drive a 16-year-old Mercedes-Benz, and I got to tell you, when I hit the gas on that bad boy, she jumps just like she were brand new. And yeah, I know I called her a bad boy and then called it a her, so it's a car either way. Here's the thing. I use Vex European. I hopped on at VexEuropean.com, fill out the little form on the website, and I go there for servicing my vehicle. Not just the big stuff. I'm talking about the everyday maintenance as well, all the way down to the oil changes, because that way they get to know your vehicle, how you drive it, how you use it. You bought your European vehicle for a certain level of performance. Make sure you're getting the most out of it by visiting Vex European. And oh, by the way, you're going to get paired with somebody who specializes in your make of vehicle. In fact, Volvo owners, listen up. If you drive a Volvo, you need to hop on VexEuropean.com. Let them take care of your Volvo. Let them take care of, they've got a Volvo tech, expert level technicians no matter what you drive, but they're going to pair you with somebody who knows your make of vehicle. So Volvo owners, VexEuropean.com. That is the most V's I've had in one live read ever. You heard news at the bottom of the hour about the Louisiana Motor Transport Association, talking about some of their concerns as we're heading into the waning days of the year, the last month and a half of the year. At Louisiana Radio Network spoke with Renee Amar. She's the executive director, talking about their top concerns right now. Number one on their list is the soaring insurance premiums.
They are experiencing right now insurance increases between 40 to 50% for next year's vehicles.
That is ridiculous. Are you kidding me? 40 to 50%. I bring this up because going on right now is a special session on tax reform. And we keep asking the question of how is tax reform going to help small business. Next hour, Leah Long from NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business, is going to join us at 8:15 to talk about that. But when you look at the tax reform and what can be done for business, getting rid of the inventory tax, unbelievably important. Corporate franchise tax, put the kibosh on that. Yes. Corporate income tax, scaling that down, all these things help. But, man, when you're looking at that P&L, those insurance costs are ridiculous. Now, can't have another special session this year. That's just too much. But continually pushing back, kicking the can down the road on the priority of insurance or prioritizing insurance, it's just not healthy. By the way, Renee Amar says this is driving those who have fleets of vehicles right out of the state.
I have members actively leaving the state of Louisiana on a weekly and monthly basis.
She says that's why it is imperative the legislature tackle this in the next session. This was talked about before session number 1. Remember when Jeff Landry got elected and Tim Temple got elected? A special session on insurance reform was supposed to be in the mix. And now here we are, 3 special sessions and a regular session later, and it still hasn't topped the charts to garner its own level of priority. By the way, the other top concerns, citing Renee Amar, other top concerns are lawsuit abuse and medical costs, 2 things that we're going to continue to talk about as we move forward. Right now, though, we're just out of time for this hour, which means it's time for news. Hour 3 is next. Becca. Oh. What's going on, Facebook? Everything good in y'all's world this morning? I trust.
Oh, man. Speaking of Facebook, I don't know if it was one of our viewers or not, but someone called in earlier explaining that the Wicked website wasn't necessarily a pornographic website because he checked it out. And he's like, go ahead, check it out. I'm like, and that's when I made the joke. I'm like, will I get a call from HR? Oh, no, it's nothing like that. It's like streaming like Netflix. It's available, but it's not, I don't know. I hate that I'm even talking about this crap. But the fact that, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Well,
You had to clarify.
what did the
Guess you had
link
to
go
call.
to? I don't know where the link went to.
I guess a streaming service, much like Netflix, according to this caller. So. He's like, I don't know what the big deal is. I'm like, okay, all right, man. Like, still, like, the point is, it doesn't go to Mattel's website for this, these children's toys. That's the point.
Well, okay, so I'm not even paying the $295 for a 3-day trial. When you go to wicked.com, the first thing it does is it verifies you're human. Second thing, you have to create an account. I ain't going further than that, boss.
Yeah. Not even for $295.
No.
So it's not like kids are, even if a kid would to go on this website, they wouldn't be exposed to anything, right? It wouldn't be
No.
right in their face, right? Okay.
No. Yeah, you can't even get a tour of this site. Mm-hmm. There's no way this isn't porno. There's no way this isn't porn.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I just don't understand the caller's gripe with it. It's like, look, that's what it is, man. But I believe this is the same caller that just calls with a lot of nonsense. So I wonder if the caller paid us $295 to check it out.
3-day trial for $295.
Like, I'm gonna have to look into this.
6,000 plus premium award-winning videos.
Award-winning.
And the little picture they have that accompanies it is these two girls and a guy. One of them is dressed like a farmer's daughter. Do you like the porno? $806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Busy third hour slated for you. Been a busy show thus far. We're starting off the third hour, partly cloudy, 65 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. What are the effects of tax reform session on small business? Leah Long from the National Federation for Independent Business going to join us at 8:15 to talk about that. Then, of course, we got Congressman. Somewhere during that news break, I lost the ability to talk. Not sure why. After Leah Long from NFIB, we have Congressman Troy Carter coming your way, a little DC Current, presented by LABI. But that's all coming up later on. Right now, we have this day in history. Oh, I can't wait. I got to get back with Danny from 5 Star.
Yeah.
Because the big news is still on the horizon. And I need to know when we can talk about it. There's big news coming from 5 Star Printing and Signs. I just don't know when we can actually talk about it.
Okay.
So I got to get with them. And by the way, business owners looking to revamp for next year, looking to put a fresh face on your first foot forward. Make those first impressions count, man. 5 Star Printing and Signs. Whether you're talking about your brochures, whether you're talking about like a restaurant menu, your business cards, your door hangers, your invoices, anything that you have printed, 5 Stars got you covered at 271-4096. All right, John, we got to get into this day in history.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So during Top Stories and Trending, we were talking about the packaging from the dolls from Wicked.
Yeah.
Had a link to a porn site.
Right.
You said a caller called off the air and said it wasn't a porn site.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess more of a subscription service.
So, well, I went to wicked.com, which is what was on the packaging, right? And yeah, you got to pay to see anything on there at all. Like
Yeah.
if you want a 3-day trial, it's going to cost you $2.95.
I wonder if the caller paid $2.95.
I don't know, but is it possible the caller meant like there's probably porn behind the paywall, but if any kid clicks on this, they're not going to see anything.
They're not going to be exposed to
They're
it.
not.
Right.
Right.
The way this made it sound was, hey, you go to this website, well then, you know.
Yeah. No, you go to the website and it's immediately asking you for money to fill out, to like, it takes you to the default to join, and it doesn't allow a link to any other page.
Yeah.
So if your kids are clicking on it, they're not getting anywhere either, unless they got your credit card.
Yeah. Well, no, it's good to clarify.
Yeah.
Because, wow. Let's start off here. 1880, best-selling American novel Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ by soldier Lew Wallace is published today. Speaking of publications, 1890, Mabel Loomis Todd publishes the first edition of poems by Emily Dickinson.
No kidding.
Like tripping over these
Good
words.
for her. Yeah, that's me. I'm contagious.
1933, first known photo of so-called Loch Ness Monster is taken by Hugh Gray.
Really?
Yeah.
You believe the Loch Ness Monster's real?
I mean, it's out there, right? It's got to be something, right? I mean,
I think so.
Maybe it's not like what they think it is, but I mean, you see, like, I'm just saying, maybe it's not the dinosaur that they think it is, but it's probably.
I think
something.
it's a dinosaur.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the long neck and everything. Like,
yeah.
Could be.
100%.
I like it.
I mean, been underwater all these years.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking of fake photos, 1966, Buzz Aldrin takes the first space selfie, a photo of himself performing.
Yeah.
Yeah. During a Gemini program, he took a space selfie. Space selfie. 1966?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. I mean, hey.
What, you think it wasn't real?
I mean, I don't know. Should we go down that rabbit hole?
Well, he'll show up and punch you.
Yeah, we don't
Not
want that.
Buzz Aldrin.
We don't want that.
No.
Yeah, we don't want that.
I mean,
Nope. No, I totally believe it's real. So anyway, 1977, New Orleans elects the first black mayor, Ernest Dutch Morial.
Yep. Wait, when?
1977.
77, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1990. Speaking of websites, the World Wide Web is first proposed.
In 1990?
1990.
Wow, that seems recent.
Too
I
recent,
feel like
right?
it would have been older than that. Yeah.
1991, U.S. Why am I reading it like that? Full House premiered its 100th episode. This day, 1991. Were you a fan of Full House?
Who wasn't?
I know, right?
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
Everybody loved Full House.
Now my kids really enjoy the Fuller House.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, 2019, Disney launches Disney Plus, and that same year they also released The Mandalorian.
I enjoyed The Mandalorian.
Did you? Yeah.
I mean,
Watched
until
a few episodes.
until Yoda, until the baby Yoda got where it was going, and then I bailed. So
You were out.
Are those all your events for today?
That's it.
Okay.
Do we have anything else?
We got a ton of birthdays.
We do.
Sure, yeah.
Let's start off with actor Ryan Gosling, actress Anne Hathaway, Russell Westbrook here. Who else we have? Wallace Shawn, Tanya Harding.
Wait, Wallace Shawn. Why do I know that name? I feel like I'm breaking
know
on
the
the name.
You know the voice for sure. He was in The Princess Bride. He's done countless voiceovers from like Toy Story, Rex and Toy Story.
Oh, he
That's
was the
one.
teacher from Clueless. He was,
Yes,
yeah. I know
So
who
many.
he is.
His name, his voice is probably attached to more than
Probably.
what his face is.
Probably.
Tanya Harding today.
Okay.
Neil Young.
Okay.
Let's see who else we got here. I don't know. It's
There's a bunch.
Sammy Sosa today.
Yep.
Anybody on your end?
I mean,
There's a ton. I was saving some for you.
Well, I'm Al Michaels, football broadcaster Al Michaels, was born on this day in 1944. And then you've also got such great characters as Charles Manson.
Okay.
Was born on this day. Actress and Princess of Monaco Grace Kelly, born on this day in 1929. You mentioned Neil Young, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Neil Young's in the mix. And, oh man, I had one more. I know I had one more. Nadia Comaneci, Romanian gymnast. Nadia Comaneci was born on this day in 1961.
All right. Moving on to deaths here. Tragic. Stan Lee today in 2018.
Yep.
Jonathan Brandis in 2003. You remember that kid?
I don't.
Oh, man. He was in a movie Sidekicks with Chuck Norris, one of my favorite movies as a kid. He was in a bunch of movies, but yeah, I think he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. I mean, that was before he died, but
I think I knew who this is.
You'll know his face. I mean, the moment you see his face.
Because there was like a run
kid.
in the 90s where he was in everything for like 3 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sidekicks, you said?
Yes.
All right, gonna have to do this in real time.
Ladybugs. He was with
that. I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah, that was another one.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Fatal Attraction. Yeah, Jonathan Brandis.
Okay.
Like I said, you'll know him when you see him.
Yep. I see him right here. It's boy, that was a run, man. That was a quick run.
Yeah.
All right. What else? What national day is it?
Happy Hour Day.
What?
Need I say more? Is there any other day that's
no
happy hour? We'll stick with that.
I just don't understand how we get to that point so quickly. So yeah, he was Bastion in Neverending Story. He was Matthew in Ladybugs. Yeah. Ooh. I'm trying to go through a few of the other ones here, but yeah, Sidekicks was the other one that was huge. Born Free was in there. Fall into Darkness. Yeah, that Jonathan Brandis was, and it was all like 1990 to 1994, like all of it was.
Yes.
So
jam packed.
Man, he died in 2003.
Yeah.
All right. It is 8:14 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, how's the special session on tax reform? What effects will it have on small business? Let's talk next. Cool. I just kind of hit the freaking brick wall over here, man. I was plugging right along, and now I'm tired.
8 o'clock hour is different.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to have to stop. I got to stop on the way to LSU. Oh, shit. I'm doing LSU today, which means I got to blast immediately after the show.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know you can only thank people so many times on Facebook before they shut you down for being spam?
Oh,
so when people wish me a happy birthday on Facebook, I like to go back and thank each post individually. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as I was doing that last night, when I got to 200, it shut me down. It said I'm potential spam. It says you need to take a break from Facebook for a minute, and I'm like, but I've got another 200 people to go.
Right. It's like I'm
only halfway there.
Just thanking everybody, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Damn. Eight 18. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Right across the other side of downtown, there's a special session on tax reform going on. A lot of items being looked at right now. Is everything moving in the right direction for small business, though? Joining us now to talk about that from the National Federation for Independent Business, we got Leah Long on the hotline. Leah, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing very well as well. What's NFIB looking at for this session?
So, we are in support of lowering the personal income tax rate. Most of our members are, LLCs or they file as pass-through entities. So that's something we're looking at. But there are a few things that we have a little bit concern over. I think, it's finally catching on that to pay for the personal income tax rate decrease is basically an expansion of taxes on services. And so that's definitely going to affect our members. It's going to raise the cost of doing business. And so that's something we're looking at. You look at states around us like Mississippi and Arkansas, they've lowered their personal income tax rate without expansion of sales tax on services. And so that's something we're paying attention to because we already have such a complicated tax system and sales tax collection system, and we don't have centralized sales tax. So it is going to make it harder on business owners that have never had to collect and remit sales tax before because they're going to have to hire someone to comply. And, if they don't comply and they're not sure how to do it or it's complicated, it's going to open them up to a lot of audits. So that's definitely one big thing we're paying attention to. And, there's been a lot of talk about inventory tax credit, and that's something, if these parishes don't opt out and they get that $15 million lump sum, that's fine because then you don't have to worry about inventory tax in that parish. But the ones that continue to keep the inventory tax and the inventory tax credit goes away for these business owners, that's a drastic hit. So the credit's gone and they're now still going to have to pay. So that's another one. And my last one I'm a little concerned about is vendor comp. So there's a bill that's going to basically take away the vendor comp, and some people don't really know what that does, but if you collect and remit your sales tax every month on time, basically you get percent back. It's a small percent. It's capped at $1,500, but it's something, these business owners get for collecting and remitting sales tax for the state. So it's one of those things that you want the small business owner that's already facing a lot and dealing with, just the cost of goods, inflation, everything, to basically collect money for the government, local and state, for free. So that's a big issue we're looking at. But, I have hope that they're going to be able to find a middle ground for everybody, for local government and industry, to kind of make the state better, because we want to move the state better, and now's the time. But I think there's different ways of looking at it.
Talk with Leah Long from the National Federation for Independent Business about the effects of the tax reform session on small business. Leah, as I understand that a lot of these individual tax credits that are kind of being run through the ringer here, they're being sunsetted at the end of next year with the hopes of kind of evaluate. Well, I shouldn't say the end of next year, the end of next fiscal year, with the hopes of evaluating to kind of figure out what's good and what's bad. What are you hearing about the possibility of, like, even if they all get wiped right now, bringing them right back on without a gap in service?
I mean, some people say that, but it's not going to help the interim. You know what I mean? These,
right.
They're still going to suffer. And, for the ones that are going to have to, they're saying that there's going to be an amnesty period to collect and remit sales tax and maybe push it to June. Let's say this thing does pass and they want to start on January 1st. But, there's going to be an amnesty period. But in the meantime, some of these tax credits that are going away, let's say the inventory tax credit, what happens when, in the meantime, they still have to pay that at the end of the year? So even if they come back, let's say 2025, 2026, and reevaluate or whatever it may be, it's not going to help in the interim. So I think you've got to think about the businesses and what it's going to cost them right now to do it. If this plan were to pass, what is the average cost that a business owner may pay for complying with the new tax code? Even if they, they say that they're going to save on their personal income tax rate. Yeah, no one really knows at this point. It depends on how much business you do and what the economy is like and, how much it's going to cost to comply to everything.
Yeah, and not having consolidated sales tax collection is going to be a big item here because, and this is something that's made its way through the legislature before and then fell short at the ballot. So,
yeah.
I don't know how quickly the state legislature would want to pick that back up again. I know it's worthwhile if they want to do it again. It's now that you see everything that's come through it, now that you see everything coming through it, bringing all that to light and knowing how business gets done. Man, it's I think giving the public a second chance at that would show a different result, to be sure. We're talking with Leah Long from NFIB about the tax reform session going on right now. Leah, I couldn't help but notice in HB 1 in particular, this is Julie Emerson's bill. This is the one that started off by lowering the personal income tax, but there are close to 24 individual tax credits that just get wiped away along with this bill. I can't help but notice that they're going to have a bigger impact on small business than on big business, because if you're big business, all you have to do is look at that bottom line. A lot of small businesses, each line within that P&L is going to matter. So is there a way to get involved, get the conversation moved over to let's tweak these bills before they're through rather than have a cleanup period afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, it's all great to say we're going to come back in April and have a cleanup period, but I don't think that's the mindset. Is there the ability to do tax reform right now? And, I know they're saying that there could be a lot of amendments on the floor when everything gets to the floor. And so I'm hopeful to see that. I know you got to get it to the House and, maybe clean up in the Senate side. But that's the thing, there's got to be a middle ground for everyone to meet here, because you can't expect business owners to pay for this. Basically, you're basing this tax plan on the backs of small business owners, and that's really difficult because you think about it, small business owners pretty much pay like all the sales tax that's collected in the state in reality, because they pay through their business, they pay when they're buying stuff for their, whatever they're selling. And so it's one thing to look at, and I'm hopeful that we can bring some amendments to try to adjust some of these bills, but I guess we'll see. I think the House votes on several bills today. I think they're on the floor, so we're going to see what happens.
We're talking with Leah Long from NFIB. We're going to see what happens part of this. It gets a little bit scary, doesn't it? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's a little frightening. But I will give a shout out to LDR and Richard Nelson. They have been very open to talks. I've called Richard and texted Richard personally about just, hey, here's an issue, here's what I want to talk about. And I also think that these bills are so long and they're so complicated. I think every day the legislators are learning new things about the bills, and us as business too. You read a bill once and then you read it again and realize, oh no, this is going to affect the business. So I think as we move forward, you're continuing to learn about the bills and how it's going to affect everyday business life for these business owners.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that part up about how long and how complicated some of these bills are. It really feels like this session in particular that we seem to be getting further and further away from the concept of single item legislation. Lumping a whole bunch of stuff into one, I worry is going to be dangerous when it comes time to hand things off to the folks at the polls in March, because we've seen time and again, if you give Louisianans, like let's say there's 10 items in a bill, they like 7, they dislike 3. We trend towards voting no to not approve the 3 as opposed to voting yes to approve the 7. When you get away from single item legislation, you run the risk of giving folks an excuse to vote no.
Of course. And of course, if the ballot language is long, people are not going to read it.
Oh.
So I mean, if it's more than, 7 sentences, they're out. So I think it's one of those things that if this does pass and it does make it to the ballot box, being able to simplify it and make sure that the voters understand what it is and how it's going to affect them. So I don't know if that's a lot of education on different interest groups' parts, or if it's LDR, the administration, being able to educate all the voters about what exactly this is going to look like for them.
Let's talk about effects here and how long it would take for both sides to take hold. If you are a small business, what happens first? The net positive effects of the overall drop in either personal or corporate income tax rate, the elimination or hopeful elimination of the inventory tax and corporate franchise taxes, or does it sting first to lose all those different credits along the way before you get to see the positive effects of the work that they're trying to do? Because if we're in that second scenario, we run the risk of losing some small businesses along the way.
Yeah, I think, what you're going to feel at first is it depends on when they're going to want to start collecting sales tax, whether that be January 1st, whether that be June 30th. They're going to have to hire someone. So your initial shock value, I think, is going to be, okay, how do we hire someone? From your dog groomer that, just goes around mobile, that's going to need someone, or your handyman, one man in a truck, that may not even own a computer. They just, they have to figure out how to do that. So I think the initial cost of having to comply with sales tax, collecting and remitting, I think is going to be your first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to the inventory tax credit, if that leaves, at the end of the year having to pay that, if you're in a parish that decided to not take the $15 million lump sum, because that's definitely going to affect you because you're not going to get a credit. So that's additional money you're going to have to pay every year. And then if vendor comp goes too, you're going to feel that also. And that's going to be, vendor comp's going to be felt by these businesses that are already collecting, remitting sales tax, depending, what type of business you are, on top of, okay, now the new businesses, the new services that are going to have to collect and remit. So I think you're going to feel it first in your business, just the cost of doing business and having to either raise your prices or absorb those costs. So it's going to affect your bottom line before you even see, maybe a potential increase in revenue at the end, depending on the personal income tax rate. So I think one of those things that it's going to cost business owners more, and it may continue to cost them more, depending how this plays out. If it's not, if they don't have a drastic increase in revenue by the time they file their taxes every year, it may cost them more every year to do this, to implement this plan.
She is Leah Long with NFIB. Let's get you back on towards the end of the session when the picture's a lot more clear.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. It's 8:30. Here's news. I got pay. Yes, they do. It's not like Julie to duck me for an interview. This is 3 days in a row now. I've reached out to her, and she's not coming on. I know. I don't know why. I'm a teddy bear. I'm not Moon. gotta go upstairs real quick. I'll be
Okay.
right back.
Matt says elementary school field trip to women's basketball. Yeah, my daughter's actually on that field trip. Oh, really? Nice.
Get you some good headphones, bro?
No, I just used my in-ears from home. Studio. Hello, sir. Yeah, we'll have you on here shortly. Thank you. Yeah, man. Like, I was always having some trouble with that. Yeah, I don't know if that's any good. I mean, I know the black eyed peas are good, but
I was supposed to bring my binder back down with me. I'm a moron. You realize I'm a moron?
he's not. No, you're not.
Not the way I'd characterize it.
Oh, Troy Carter's online as well.
Thank you.
Thought I'd throw that out there.
What's up with Bill Cassidy, bro?
What's up with Bill Cassidy?
What's up with John Kennedy?
What's up with John Kennedy?
Private ballot for Senate leadership? Private vote? Secret vote?
Hang on. All right, here's what we got going on forecast-wise. It's a 30% chance of rain today, but your high is gonna be 76. So this round of clouds and rain, it's a bit of a cool front. Gonna knock things down a little bit. Overnight low gets down to 69. Tomorrow we top out at 78. We have a 70% chance of rain tomorrow with thunderstorms. Then the overnight low gets down to 61. After that 70% chance of rain rolls through, things are gonna clear up through at least the weekend. We're not gonna see a high of 80 again until about I believe Sunday. So we're gonna start off our days, or we're gonna have days in the mid 70s throughout. Moving ahead to next week, we're going to have 80 to 81 degrees for a couple days before another round of rain cools things down a little bit further for next week. Right now, partly cloudy skies, 66 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. .838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. You know, here on Talk 107.3 FM, we are home to LSU women's basketball. And coming up 10:30 this morning, pregame for LSU women's basketball, tip-off at 11. So you're going to miss the last half hour of Moon Griffon, and you're going to miss Brian Kilmeade today because Coach Kim Mulkey and the Tigers are hosting Charleston Southern. Like I said, our coverage begins at 10:30 with pregame. Patrick Wright will be on the call for the LSU Sports Radio Network. Yours truly will be producing that game. It's a lot of fun, by the way. If you don't normally listen to a women's basketball game on the radio, you want to give this one a listen, and I'm going to tell you why. Today's the field trip game. So there are going to be thousands of third graders in the PMAC today. It is a sound like no other. Just the screaming is unbelievable. It's a whole lot of fun. It's something I'm glad Coach Mulkey has brought about and is embracing. It creates a whole lot of excitement for what would otherwise be, a very low attention game with Charleston Southern. But tip-off is for 11 o'clock right here on Talk 107.3 FM. All right. Congressman Troy Carter, who cruised to re-election last Tuesday night, is on with us. This is DC Current, presented by LABI. Congressman Carter, how are you, man?
I am doing well, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm very well as well. I got to tell you, following the results last Tuesday, there was like a hot minute where, with like 2% of the precincts reporting, you were tied with two other Republicans in your district. And I was like, what is going on down there? What happened in Congressman Carter's district? And then numbers started to roll in, and you started to pace yourself out beyond that, and things went back to normal. But it was like from 8 to 8:30. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. I hadn't gotten in front of a television set yet, so I didn't have that moment of concern because I never saw it. But I was shared. Many of my friends shared that they were watching and thinking, "Oh my God, is he going to be in a runoff?"
It looked like it.
I'm glad that I was still on the street and hadn't gotten to a place to watch any returns yet. So by the time I got a chance to see it, the numbers looked much better.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and then as things panned out throughout the course of the evening, on your way to an easy victory down there, wasting no time getting back to work. Let's go ahead and talk about. I know there's a couple of things.
Let me say this, if you would indulge me just half a second. If you would allow me to say thank you to the voters, how much I greatly appreciate and love serving the people of Louisiana, and I am honored and humbled by the show of love and support. I will continue to wake up every morning with you on my mind, fighting for the people of Louisiana.
We got Congressman Troy Carter on with us. This is DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. I know there's a couple things your office has already put out since the election, and I want to talk about both of those. But before we get into them, can we talk about the lame duck session for just a half second?
Yes.
Farm bill has to be priority number one here. What are we looking at?
Well, this has been punted around so much that the Farm Bill has become, I guess, for lack of a better term, it's just sitting there. So I'm hopeful that we will be able to expedite and get that done. Also, with the ability for our government employees, school teachers, firefighters to be able to collect and enjoy their entire pensions, that's going to be up for vote tonight. And I'm excited about being able to, the WEPCO, to be able to bring this to a closure and move it to the Senate with hopes that we can rapidly get this done during lame duck so we can fix a 1983 ill-fated policy that disallowed members of certain pensions to be able to collect their full Social Security, school teachers, firefighters, federal employees who had gone into the business sector. Just a ridiculous situation, disallowing teachers to collect their husbands' pensions upon their demise, their death. Just a really antiquated, silly policy that we will have up for a vote tonight. I'm confident it will pass the House.
Talk with Congressman Troy Carter. This is DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Congressman Carter, the nature of a lame duck session, I mean, this is one where we kind of get into, terminology that gets a little inside baseball. Walk us through what goes on during a lame duck session and why it can potentially be different.
Well, lame duck by its very term, people that, for whatever reason, rather they're retiring or they lost their elections, get to finish out their term between now and the 3rd of January, when new members are sworn in. So during this lame duck session, we have members that will not be, this is the 118th Congress, who will not be a part of the 119th Congress. So during this period, we have cleanup legislation, bills that are still sitting in the hopper, if you will, that have the capacity to still get through both chambers and hopefully get to the president's desk. And of course, lame duck also applies to the outgoing presidential administration, in this case, Biden-Harris administration. So there's a whole host of closeout measures, executive orders that may still be done by the outgoing administration, bills that are yet to complete the process that may be able to quickly get to the president's desk, and of course something that's near and dear to all of us, and that is passing a budget. Getting a budget done that will allow us to give the faith and confidence to the American people that your Social Security checks will still be on time, that you have a disaster relief fund that's fully funded in case of natural disasters, that SBA has been funded in case of natural disasters and the need to stand up our small businesses, which is so critically important to Louisiana and to our country. As we know, our small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and we should always make sure that we're prepared to support them. And so, these are all things that's going to be hurried. We have only a few weeks and I say a few weeks, we have the balance of now and the balance of December before we break again to advance these issues and get them either to the president's desk in the case of legislation or through the process in the case of passing our budget.
We got Congressman Troy Carter on with us, DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Keeping with that, you're on the Disaster Preparedness and Recovery Caucus there. How much support is there? How much momentum do y'all have heading into the session?
I will tell you that we have unanimous. As you may recall, we sent a bipartisan letter to the White House and to FEMA, asking, and to Congress rather, that we would quickly fund the DRF to make sure that we are giving the White House and FEMA the resources they need to be as upside down as we are, while we still have a healthy amount of hurricane season still there. We also know that these natural disasters don't seem to play fairly. They don't play on schedule. They don't show up at convenient times, and they're never convenient times, obviously, but they don't show up at times that we're expecting them sometimes. Right. Sometimes we're prepared when they come. A lot of times they aren't. Some places like Louisiana, we know when hurricane season starts. We have a reasonable idea of how fast, how long, and even the name of them. But in other parts of the country that are now starting to experience tornadoes and mudslides and wildfires where they've never had them before, our need to have a robust disaster relief fund is heightened because we just don't know when or where they're coming. And we also know this, that with climate change, you're starting to see these natural disasters pop up in areas that have never had them before, which, quite frankly, as it might suggest, it starts to put a drain on the resources of the Disaster Recovery Fund. So we have to make sure that we are being good stewards of the public's trust, and we're never letting that fund get this low again. I propose that we continue, even when we have a surplus, that instead of repurposing that money, that we let it continue to roll over. Better to have way more than we need than to find ourselves in a situation, in the case of a natural disaster, not being able to support our small businesses, not being able to support our communities, not be able to stand up neighbors and friends who find themselves in situations like we just found in North Carolina, and the horrific storm surge that they had to deal with that they've never had to that category before.
We got about a minute left with Congressman Troy Carter. This is DC Current, presented by LABI. If we could pivot one more time in this last minute, I wanted to make sure we saved a little bit of time for something that you had put on your office had put out a press release on just towards the end of last week. It was last Friday, asking the Department of Homeland Security to take action to stop a series of racist text messages that followed this year's election. And I believe some of those messages actually hit home in Louisiana.
Yeah, they did hit home in Louisiana. They hit in some 20 or 30 states, unfortunately. And there were a series of threatening, racist, vile, threatening text messages targeting primarily young African Americans across the country, with such horrific things as putting you back in slavery, kidnapping, and taking you on a bus off to some plantation and da-da-da-da-da. Listen, America has no place for this. Louisiana has no place for this. We are a melting pot of cultures, races, religions, faiths, and that's our strength. That's our diversity. Unless you're a Native American, we've all come from somewhere else. And the notion that somehow some crackpot or crackpots feel that it's okay to terrorize our young African Americans, or young anybody for that matter, but in this case, young African Americans in university settings, threatening them with such vile attacks. I've asked DHS, along with other members of Congress, to vigorously investigate this and find the villains and bring them to justice. And equally as important is send a message to everyone, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Republican, Democrat, independent, and other. Listen, we can have our differences without hating each other. We can have our philosophical differences without vile, nasty attack individuals because we disagree, because we look different, because we may think differently. We're Americans. And this great melting pot that we have, our strength is in our ability to exercise our First Amendment right to have free thought, free speech, and to communicate in a way that suggests that everyone's opinion is valued and no one should be attacked because of their race, religion, gender, or any other difference that makes America the great country that she is.
He is Congressman Troy Carter, joins us this time every week for DC Current, presented by LABI. Look like you could be doing that for another 2 years at the very least, Congressman Carter. Thank you so much for hopping on board today. And again, congrats on the re-election.
Thank you, my friend. Have a fantastic week.
You do the same. It's 8:51 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We blew right past your money now. It's on me. I know better. I know better. And John already knows there were 2.5 minutes left in the segment when I told him there was 1 minute left in the segment, and we still missed by 1:40.
It happened.
Talk 107.3 FM and Citizens Bank and Trust are bringing you the ultimate holiday gift with your Home for the Holiday sweepstakes. Imagine 2025 with your rent or mortgage covered up to $18,000. We're here to make your holidays a whole lot brighter. Just sign up at talk1073.com and you can be living stress-free next year. The winner will be notified on December 20th. Quick break. We'll close it out next.
Yeah.
It was 8:57:30 when I said we got 60 seconds left.
Yeah, we had time.
I'm at the point now where I feel like he's got other people in the room with him. He goes, watch this.
Yeah. Every single time.
Oh.
Every single time.
The thing is, I don't ever want him to change. Because the bit is better than the reality. Like, I don't want the reality to change. I want the bit to remain the same.
We got a minute. Tell us what you got on this. You know what? I'll take 5.
Chief Morse is obviously the featured today. I mean, he fired off on the BRPD Chief Morse fires back at calls to eliminate his department. Well, I don't think that's being too clickbaity. I think that's on point. Trey Godfrey will be under elections. You can actually put Jeff Crouere under elections today as well.
Okay.
Leah and Congressman Carter just go on the normal page.
Sounds good.
I can't stop yawning. I'm almost caught up, yo. Almost. Like I did not get to sleep at a decent hour last night, but I did not drink my ass off either. Although, has anybody tried those ashwagandha drinks? They're supposed to mellow you out. I don't get the effects of like an extended mellow, but I do know they make me tired as hell. My writing at night has dropped off greatly. I'm not funny anymore because I'm too tired. I suck. Whew. Bum, 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 bum. 856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. John, we missed a birthday, man.
What?
We missed a birthday.
Who did we miss?
Back in our This Day in History segment. Would you believe it's Vinny Carollo's birthday today?
Vinny Crouere?
Yes!
Man.
Our guy from Vex European.
Come on.
I know. We missed him. I don't know how.
Oh.
Well, I know how. Did you know that you can only thank people so much on Facebook before they shut you down?
Did not know that.
So I learned this last night. After my birthday, which was over the weekend, I like to send everybody an individual thank you. I'll go through, no matter how many posts are on my timeline, I will go through them and be like, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, it probably close to 200 before Facebook said, you got to stop. They said, you can't post anymore because this is potential spam.
Wow. So you didn't go the broad.
I wasn't
one post. Thank you.
No,
all.
oh, I want to thank everybody. Blah, blah, blah. No. I went through each one of them. I was watching Moneyball.
Wow. Okay.
The wife had collapsed and crashed because she enjoyed the Sunday night that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so she was just zonked out next to me, and I'm just watching Moneyball on TV and smashing through all my through all the birthday wishes on the phone, and then saw where today is Vinny's birthday. So shout out our guys over at Vex European. Hopefully they're taking care of the boss man today, as it is Vinny's birthday. Couple things before we get out of here. We're blowing out the outside in today because there were 3 different stories, and all 3 of them have been updated since. So the copy that was written is bad. I do need to take a minute to tell you about the folks over at Mathern's. I'm swinging by Mathern's in about a half an hour from right now. I'll be up in Mathern's because I'm running on a little bit tired right now, and I need a Red Bull and probably a breakfast sandwich because I'm going over to LSU to produce the field trip basketball game, right? I'll pop in at Mathern's. I'll get myself a Red Bull, be charged up and good to go for when I head back across the street because it's that convenient. It's within walking distance. It's right across the street from Tiger Stadium, which means it's right across the street from the Maravich Assembly Center. Mathern's has got you covered. No, by the way, students, faculty, and staff, if you have that at lsu.edu email address, you're getting 10% off every day over at Mathern's. With this last minute of the show, I got to bring up the National Hurricane Center's webpage, because would you believe there's another one? Would you believe there's another kidney bean in the Caribbean right now? A disturbance. A tropical wave over the central Caribbean is producing an area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear conducive for development. We are right now at an 80% chance that we're going to have another named storm over the next 7 days. 80%, 40% over the next 2 days. 80% chance over the next 7 days. This disturbance is expected to meander over the western Caribbean Sea through the weekend and begin moving slowly, generally northwestward by early next week. Interests across the western Caribbean should monitor progress of the system. Basically, as of right now, this is looking like a Cancun storm. We will continue to follow it in case it grows into anything else. But, man, November 12th, and there's another disturbance out there. Moon's next, or Joe Cunningham's in for Moon next. We'll see you later. Hey, Rich.
Have a good day, dude.
You
hey,
too, brother.
Real quick, if you don't mind, I'm answer by you again in the morning.
She's not here yet? All right.
Is that
yeah.
cool?
Yeah, no problem at all. I did send her an email saying I knew it was yours. Like, I figured out it was yours.
That's cool.
But I think she was already gone when I sent it. So
no, that's good, but I ain't bothered because I know you're sitting here.
Yeah.
And then you got to come down. It's a pain in the ass.
It's not. It's fine.
What time you get here? 5, right?
I ain't right about 5.
I'll be here.
I've been a couple minutes late every day.
I appreciate it.
I'm dragging ass lately, Rich. And basketball practice for the boys starts this week. So.
Hey, dude, it was today 40,000 fans. Curly Holman lost to Southern Miss. I know it. Today was today's also Miles versus Saban 1, 2005 when he hit Dwayne Bowe in overtime when LSU won in Tuscaloosa.
That was the first?
2005. Yeah, that was his first season. Miles' first season.
But Saban wasn't there yet.
Saban was at Alabama in 2005.
No. Saban was in Miami.
Oh, fuck. I got to take that down. Oh, I forgot. You're right.
Saban spent 2 seasons in Miami before joining up at Alabama.
That's right. Damn it, Brian. God darn it, you good. I forgot.
Yeah. He didn't leave us for Alabama. He left us for the NFL, and his job wasn't here anymore. Which is why I've never hated him.
Who was the coach then?
Was it Francione? Shula? Let's see. List of Alabama Crimson Tide head coaches by year. It was Mike Shula. You're very welcome.
What I do without you, man?
The exact same thing you do now, Rich.
You're the best, dude. Absolutely the best.
So if Danielle puts that thing in my box, I'll let you know.
Either way.
I'm swinging back by after I got to do LSU women's basketball for the